beating back Trumpism? Do Democrats need to become more populist, more moderate, more socialist? Do they need to embrace the abundance agenda? Do they need to produce more vertical video? The answer is yes, they do. All of them, but none of them in particular. The Democratic Party does not need to choose.
I love Ezra Klein, but he makes me snore. Yeah, I agree with that. But his prepared videos have always been really good and well edited and stuff. Like this one, right?
To be one thing.
The fully edited.
It needs to choose to be more things. In a few days.
Like this is very dynamic. It's very clear. It's heavily edited, right?
There will be elections for mayor of New York City, for governor of New Jersey, and for governor of Virginia. As of now, Democrats are leading in all these races. These aren't unusual leads in what have become reliably Democratic states. You can imagine a world where the violence and corruption of Donald Trump's first 9 months in office,
you're gambling with World War III,
had led to a collapse in support for him and his party. We'll see what Election Day actually brings, but we do not look to be in that.
Bro, isn't it crazy how they released like a trailer for Slay the Spire 2, but it's exactly the same as Slay the Spire 1? It's not, like, at least with Monster Train 2, it's like there are substantial differences. Or the gameplay is the same, but it's clear that they, like, really put their heart into it, you know? But with Slay the Spire 2, I feel like it's just like a DLC that they're just releasing for the second game. Fuck me. Sorry, not related. But
that's all the more true if you look a year out to the midterms. Democrats are leading by about 2.5 points. At about this time in 2017, Democrats were up by about 10 points. Democrats have another problem. They're going to need to overcome the chain of redistricting Republicans are setting off across the country.
Shut up, it's different. How, though?
Pad here for Republicans.
And the Senate is even harder for Democrats. They will need to flip 4 seats in the 2026 midterms to win back the Senate. That means winning in Maine and North Carolina, no easy task, and then winning at least 2 seats in states Donald Trump won by 10 points or more. The map for Democrats wasn't always this daunting. Go back to 2010, and 10 of those states had Democratic senators.
See, isn't the latency is much better now, right? Like, I'm seeing your stuff way sooner. Great stuff.
Today, none of them do. Most of those states seem barely in reach for Democrats. There's no arguing with this fact. The number of places in which the Democratic Party is competitive has shrunk. In American politics, power is not decided by a popular vote. In the Electoral College,
I'm trying to find a
in the
game
House
to play,
of Representatives, and particularly in the Senate, it is apportioned by place. This is the problem for Democrats. They don't just need to win more people. They need to win more places. And that requires a different kind of thinking.
Because the stream restarted?
Wins the New York City mayor's race. And Rob Sand wins the Iowa governor's race next year.
The Democratic and Republican parties don't solve enough problems to deserve their little shared monopoly.
Did the Democratic Party just move left or right? Neither. It got bigger. It found a way to represent more kinds of people in more kinds of places. That is a spirit it needs to embrace. Not moderation, not progressivism, but in the classic political sense of the term, representation. In 1962, Bernard Crick published this strange little book called In Defense of Politics. Politics for Crick is something precious and specific.
Okay, I'm playing Absol.
It, quote, arises from accepting the fact of the simultaneous existence of
never mind,
groups,
it crashed.
hence different interests and different traditions within a territorial unit under common rule. I know that's a mouthful, but that fact of difference he is pointing out, the reality of difference, is not always accepted. There are other forms of social order, like tyranny or oligarchy, that actively suppress it. But to practice politics, as Crick defines it, is to accept the reality of difference. That is to say, it is to accept the reality of other people, of how different other people are from you. Politics involves genuine relationships with people who are genuinely other people, not tasks set for our redemption or objects for our philanthropy. Genuine relationships with people who are genuinely other people. I love that line, because the endless fantasy in politics is persuasion with...
Is there any drop frames? There shouldn't be, I think. I'm going to lower the volume, though. But
representation. You elect us to represent you, and where we disagree, we will explain to you why you are wrong.
Shush.
The result of that politics tends to be neither persuasion nor representation. People know when you're not listening to them, and they know how to respond. They stop listening to you. They vote for people who they feel do listen to them. I'm not a pessimist on the possibility of persuasion, but I believe it is rare,
I'll tell you this,
maybe
I don't trust
impossible,
you.
outside a context of mutual respect. And if I were to say where the Democratic Party went most wrong over the last decade, it's there. In too many places, Democrats sought persuasion without representation, and so they got neither. I've spent much of the last year talking to the kinds of voters Democrats lament losing. I feel I end up having the same conversation over and over again. They sometimes tell me about issues where the Democratic Party departed from them,
No.
but they first describe a more fundamental feeling of alienation. The Democratic Party, they came to believe, doesn't like them. Many of these people voted for Democrats until a few years ago. They didn't feel their fundamental beliefs had changed, but they began to feel like deplorables. They began to feel unwanted.
250 million people are not garbage. I can tell you who the real garbage is, but we won't say that.
When I'd push on the experiences they had, when I would ask which Democrats were they talking about, what exactly had happened, I often found they were reacting to a cultural vibe, as much or more than a flesh and blood party. They had felt something change, and I knew they were right, because something had changed. It had changed on the left, it had changed on the right, but it was diffuse. It wasn't any one person or any one moment or any one policy. The structure of American life changed in a way that has made the genuine relationships of politics much harder to maintain. I believe the first party that figures out its way out of this trap will be the one able to build a majority in this era. When I grew
I wish that Ezra Klein focused a lot more on the double standards poisoning that is happening in this country. I don't like the fact that, you know, he is doing this like wishy-washy political video. You know what? I like Ezra Klein's. The reason why I liked Ezra Klein's video that was titled "The Emergency Is Now" is because it was urgent. It accurately represented how dire the situation is. It accurately represented how I feel about the current situation and how doomer I feel, right? It accurately represented that we need to do something fast, right? But I think after the Charlie Kirk shit and, you know, Ezra Klein doing the whole Ben Shapiro thing, I don't know. Like he seems to be a lot more like, oh yeah, we need to appeal to the moderates. We need to do this and that. It is this one so far. I mean, I guess we'll see because I barely started this video. But it's I don't know. He would need to beat out his best video, which is The Emergency Is Now.
in a Republican county an hour south of Los Angeles. My family subscribed to the Los Angeles Times, and to the extent I heard political commentary, it was on local radio.
2005 was a tough year for public. California state and local taxes are.
Good afternoon, Senator McClintock. Good afternoon, Senator Steinberg.
Now, the New York Times is the largest newspaper by subscribers in California. And a young, politically inclined kid like I was will listen to podcasts like...
Welcome to Pod Save America. I'm John Favreau.
I'm John Lovett.
I'm Tommy Vitor.
On today's show, we'll talk about Donald Trump.
Like talking about the disconnect between Democrats and Republicans and how divided the country is like an interesting conversation for like 10 years ago. It's never an interesting conversation now because we've been talking about how wide the divide is for 10 years. We've been talking about how wide the divide is for 10 years. What more is there to say now, right? We have talked about for the last 10 years coming together and bridging the gap. And he's just not led anywhere.
Latest musings about doing away with the Constitution to become president for life.
President
Otherwise, Kamala Harris would have won.
Trump.
Talk me through your evolution on Trump. Sure.
By a landslide,
That kid's
by the
political
way.
sensibility will be less distinctly Californian and more relentlessly national. For decades, we have been losing local media and migrating to national media. And that has meant politics everywhere is losing its local character and reflecting national divisions. Then there is the astonishing amount of money politicians need and the places they go to find it. In the 1970s, the Supreme Court decided money was speech.
The expenditure limitations are violative of
Dude,
First
I'm so
Amendment
rusty now.
guarantees,
Jesus.
and they are unconstitutional.
Campaigns became more expensive, and candidates often need a whole lot more money than what they can raise in their own states and districts. That means exciting donors who are much further to the left or right than the public, and winning over interest groups that see their support on policy. Money can polarize, money can corrupt, but either way, it pulls candidates away from their own constituents. That was all true when I moved to Washington to cover politics in 2005. But then something else changed.
But what we're going to do is get rid of all these buttons and just make a giant screen.
800 million Facebook users are coming to grips with change this week.
It features scrolling news feeds and snazzier pictures.
By showing you older tweets it thinks you care about right on top of your current feed.
We're not going to touch the phones.
Can't touch it no matter what happens.
It's a serious problem, Tom.
It really is.
How much time do you spend doing this? The average smartphone user scrolls the equivalent of 78 miles a year. That's
I try not to doom scroll these days. I think that somehow, I don't know how, but when I go onto Twitter these days, it's just a shitpost. It's purely just a shitpost. And it's purely just to hate on Drew Pavlo. That's all I do. All I do is hate on Drew Pavlo. Every day I wake up and I think to myself, how do I retweet Drew Pavlo today that is a zinger, you know? And I recognize to myself that I'm just giving him what he wants, which is engagement. And because he posts rage bait, right? He's in the business of rage bait. But then I tell myself, you know what? I don't think I actually care if he's making money off of this. I just want to dunk on him. Because I'm thinking to myself, should I even incentivize anything that he's doing? And I think that, it's probably better for me to call him out rather than it is to have him circle jerk and rage bait all the time. I don't know, but I see your retweets. Oh yeah, retweet art. Okay, I'm not gonna describe obviously what the art is. Okay, that would be it's art. Okay.
Marathons.
We all know this changed politics, but for all the words that have been spilled on it, I think we still miss how fundamentally it has altered the day-to-day work of politics. Since the 2024 election, there's been a lot of talk on the Democratic side about the power of the so-called groups.
There are interest groups.
There were a lot of advocacy groups, a lot of parts of the Democratic Party that really thought things were fine.
They're more extreme than many of their constituents.
The progressive advocacy organizations and nonprofits that have arguably pushed Democrats to the left. I've used that term before.
Absolutely.
I've talked about the groups, but I think it is imprecise. The real thing we're talking about here is what might be called the professional political classes. The people in the groups are the same people who staff or drive all the other parts of progressive politics. One year you're with a nonprofit, then you're on a campaign, then you're in the White House, then you're back at a group. You're followed on X or Blue Sky by left-leaning journalists like me, by producers at MSNBC, or by breaking news reporters at Politico. It's not a bunch of groups. It's a professional community that exists largely online. And so that professional community's culture and its attention is governed not by its own values or goals, but by the decisions of the corporations and oligarchs who own the social media platforms, who design them to further their own profits or their own politics. The conversations pulsing across these platforms are shaped not by civic values, but by the hacks that keep people scrolling. Nuanced opinions get compressed into viral slogans. Attention collects around the loudest and most controversial voices. And the algorithms, they love conflict and inspiration and outrage and anger. Everything's always turned up to 11. Social media has thrown everyone involved at every level of politics.
Yeah, it's bad. What do you want me to say?
In every place, into the same algorithmic thunderdome. It collapsed distance and profession and time, because no matter where we are or when we are, we can always be online together. We always know what our most online peers are thinking. They come to set the culture of their respective political classes, and there's nothing that most of us fear, like being out of step with our peers. This has affected the Democratic and Republican parties in different ways. Let me start with Democrats.
Fade out.
From 2012 to 2024, Democrats moved sharply left on virtually every issue. They often did so believing they were finally representing communities that had long suffered from too little representation. This was what they were told by the online voices and by the professional groups that claimed to represent those communities. But it went wrong. Democrats became more uncompromising on immigration and lost support among Hispanic voters. They moved left on guns and student loans and climate and lost ground with young voters. They moved left on race and lost ground with black voters. They moved left on education and lost ground with Asian American voters. They moved left on economics and lost ground with working class voters. The only major group where Democrats saw improvement across that whole 12-year period was college-educated white voters. If you judged Democratic politics expressively by what it was saying, it stood in solidarity with the struggling and the marginalized as never before. If you judged it consequentially, it was breaking faith with those it had vowed to represent and protect. Online politics is expressive. You need to say what will win favor with the highly online voices that dominate your side of the algorithm. Offline, you need to win elections.
I sued EPA, and I'll take dead aim at the cap and trade bill. Because it's bad for West Virginia.
Yes, that was Manchin shooting the cap and trade bill the Democrats have been trying to pass with a rifle. But Manchin, 12 years later, was the key vote to pass the Inflation Reduction Act, the single largest green energy investment in American history.
This is a great day, because this is a balanced bill.
Expressively, to progressives, Manchin was just a constant irritant. Consequentially, he was the
I think people are just naturally attracted to evil and cruelty. I think humanity fundamentally is evil. I think humanity fundamentally is death. I think people like to have a veneer and have an appearance of civility, but behind that hides the darkest heart. What I mean is the more you try to hang on to black voters, the more you try to hang on to Hispanic voters, the more you hang on to women voters, the more they begin to slip away from your grasp. It's like a wet soap. The more you fucking the more you squeeze the wet soap, the more the wet soap fucking slips and falls to the floor. Bounces off the marble floor and right up your ass or some shit. Okay. I think that is the case when it comes to the age of social media. Yeah. I think people like to suffer. I think people they like see. I mean, is there no better example than black people in race play? I mean, think about it, okay? Every single black person I ever know, period, all right, online is into race play. Why are you into that? Like, supposedly speaking, right? It must be because you are attracted to which you should hate, right? I'm joking. Okay, that's not... It doesn't matter. Okay, whatever.
Democrats' most remarkable overperformer. He made their majority possible by winning elections. No
I'm
Democrat
half
should have been able to
memeing,
win.
okay?
In a state that the president in the previous election won by 42 points.
I'm sorry.
Never happened. Never happened.
The most important question the party needed to be asking in that era was, where do they find more Joe Manchins? How do they make more Joe Manchins possible? But today's Democratic Party, particularly its online culture, has taken forms of disagreement.
I think minorities want to be oppressed. Does anybody think that? Does anybody think like minorities actually want to be oppressed? Like, I feel like when I'm being racist, right, on my stream, when I'm saying unhinged shit on my stream, the more that minority follows me, bro, I'm beginning to think that most of Gen Chat during a certain time is like majority black people. Like, legitimately, it's just majority black people. Why? I've been nothing but racist. Nothing but unabashedly racist, even. It's crazy to me how, even then, I have such a large, like, fucking black micro community. It's just, like, a subsection of my community, just super black, you know? I just don't understand. There's only one conclusion that I can draw for this, okay? Minorities just like being oppressed. There's nothing hotter to a moderate... Sorry, there's nothing hotter to a transgender woman who's straight than a Republican man who dehumanizes them in bed. Right? There's nothing hotter to a black man than a white chick that says the hard R. There's... Humanity is lost.
Just a drink. A martini, shaken, not stirred.
I love black people.
True. Mickey, thank you so much for the 10 Australian, okay? Thank you. Look, I'm just saying people are attracted because sexual things are like under the surface, right? Because the most civil motherfuckers you know are the horniest motherfuckers, right? Like, the purest church girl is the horniest fucker. It happens all the time. Right? Pixie being into this hookup culture thing, she presents herself as a pure girl. Turns out she's a complete degenerate, right? I don't think this is an accident or a coincidence. I think this is just how people is. I think people are just attracted to pain and suffering and evil. I think the way that people hide fetishes is the same way that people hide the evil that is dwelling inside of them. This is why the average moderate is evil. This is why the average moderate likes John Wick revenge movies. The average moderate is cruel, uncompromising, and a radical. But we've been tricked into thinking the average moderate is a normie who cares about kindness and civility. No. The true Nazis are the moderates. Oh my god. The true radicals are the moderates. Oh. Nothing means anything anymore. We're actually just so cooked. It's over. I think as a species, we're just attracted to evil. We're cooked. Oh my god.
Indifference. It once held inside its tent and pushed them outside.
West Virginia's most prominent Democrat changed his registration to independent today.
There are very fewer and fewer people like you in the South.
Pixie's wife, who never mentions her or anything about her in any of her videos, is also suing her prior employer for sexual harassment. Lol, what the fuck? Wife and wife are both engaged in epic lawsuits at the moment, but don't talk about it in any of their social medias together. What's this? Virginia Fiorentini versus Moico USA. Good memes. Nice.
I mean, is that...
Well, my colleagues would say, thank God.
Yes, they would, including some in your former party.
Oh, many of my former party.
In 2010, when the Affordable Care Act passed, the crucial vote in the Senate came from Ben Nelson, a pro-life Democrat.
After winning fresh concessions to limit the availability of abortions.
But I would have not voted for this bill and would not vote for this bill without those provisions.
There were then roughly 40 pro-life Democrats serving in the House. Crafting compromises across these disagreements was hard. But Democrats were able to pass Obamacare, which expanded reproductive health coverage and remains the greatest Democratic policy accomplishment of the 21st century.
We are done.
That same Democratic Party, with all of its internal disagreements, it had the votes to confirm Supreme Court justices who would, and did, in their time, protect Roe. I've been in a debate recently about whether Democrats should run pro-life candidates in red states in much the way that Republicans run pro-choice candidates like Susan Collins and Larry Hogan in blue states. And I think I was taken aback to hear people say in response to this argument that I just wanted to throw reproductive rights overboard. So I want to say this clearly. No, I don't. I thought past episodes I've done on abortion, episodes I've done in the context of what my own family has been through, should have shown that. But what I want is a Democratic Party big enough and strong enough to protect reproductive rights. And I feel our politics on this have failed, because they have failed. We cannot protect or restore reproductive freedom if the coalition that cares about that cannot compete in more places. But this point is not about any one issue. It's about a broader approach to politics. Different places have different politics, and to win in them, politicians have to represent the people who live in them. That means representing views Democrats now find.
I don't fundamentally disagree with this point. I think that running Manchin, who is, I think he's more of a pro-life person, right? He's more of a pro-life, left-leaning person. Like running Manchin is obviously better. Having Manchin there is better than having a Republican there, obviously, right? I think the model that I think the model that Ezra Klein is using right now is just looking off of Manchin. I think it's just purely off of looking at Manchin and then going like, well, look at Manchin. This person is a pro-life person who won in West Virginia. I'm not fundamentally against that idea, but I'm not sure if it is abortion, though. I'm not sure. We'll see.
To be anathema on immigration or guns or trade or climate or trans rights. But one worry I have about Democrats right now is that they do not want to confront how much of the country truly, deeply disagrees.
I don't think it's abortion. I actually do not think it's abortion that people are willing to vote Democrat or Republican over. I think it's because if you have the craziest of Republicans, and they are voting against their own interest every single time, when normally in any other scenario, they would be voting in their best interest, right? You have farmers who are voting against farmer subsidies. You have farmers who are voting against their life's work. It's not... If Trump wanted to, he could just simply say tomorrow that he is pro-abortion, and the entire Republican Party would be on board. Trump could choose simply tomorrow to say, I am now pro-choice. And then everybody would fall in line like clockwork. Like clockwork. Everyone would fall in line. All of MAGA would fall in line generally. Not even bump stock bans could lose him a significant part of his base. Not even 1 million COVID deaths could lose him a significant part of his base. Not even Operation Warp Speed could make him lose a significant chunk of his base. None of this shit matters. The policies do not matter. People don't care about the policy. You say run pro-life, but I don't think even women care about that anymore. I don't think so. I don't think women care about abortion. It sounds horrible to say. But I legitimately don't think women care all that much about abortion anymore. Not compared to the past. I think what they really want is someone with a streamer personality to tell them where to go, how to vote. People want a cult leader. It's not that people don't want a cult leader. They want a cult leader. They're just not willing to admit they want a cult leader.
Agrees with them. Poll show
they want a personality. They want a personality that they could vicariously live through. And that's literally it.
That the percentage of voters saying the Democratic Party is too liberal increased sharply between 2012 and 2024. The percentage of voters saying the Republican Party is too conservative fell during that same period. Even now, after the aggression and the outrages and the violations of Trump's second administration, that gap has not fully closed. I would like to believe that all Democrats need to do to win back these voters is embrace an agenda I'm already comfortable with.
Yeah, but it's just, again, Ezra Klein's missing the point. Because Ezra Klein is saying, no, it's about policy. And I'm saying it's literally the opposite of policy. If you say it's policy, it is the furthest thing from policy.
Economic populism,
you want destiny
or abundance, I guess, or both. Like, but I don't think it's true. A study by the Center for Working Class Politics found that in key Rust Belt states, when you attached the Democratic label to a candidate running on an economic populist platform, that candidate lost 11 to 16 points in support. That's how Sherrod Brown, once one of the strongest economic populists in the party, lost his Ohio Senate seat to a Republican car dealer who had to settle more than a dozen lawsuits for wage theft. Jared Golden is a Democrat from Maine. In 2024, he edged out a victory in a district Donald Trump won by nearly 10 points.
Working with Republicans to secure the border and standing with law enforcement against defunding the police.
I'm Jared Golden, and I approve this message because you deserve a congressman as independent as you.
No other Democrat in Congress, not one, has survived in such a pro-Trump district.
He is declaring victory, admitting it was his toughest election yet.
Now, in what strikes me as an absolutely insane turn of events, Golden is facing a primary challenge.
Golden even said he was okay with Donald Trump becoming president again.
Instead of learning from Democrats like Golden, Democrats who are successfully representing voters who are otherwise moving towards Donald Trump, some progressives want to purge him.
Because we can do better than bad and worse.
I don't think the Democratic Party should just move right. It is good, in my view, that AOC and Zoran Mamdani run as Democrats, and that Bernie Sanders has become a leader in the Democratic Party. It is good that you can be an out-and-out Democratic socialist in today's Democratic Party. But what happened over the past 15 years is the Democratic Party made room on its left and closed down on its right. For all the talk of what Democrats should learn from Sanders or Mamdani,
I don't like the sideways camera angle that they use. This sideways camera angle is too forced and too corny. And I'm not just saying this because I disagree with Ezra right now. This has always been the case where I don't like this specific camera angle. It's a nitpick, okay? It's a nitpick, but I do not like this camera angle, okay? It's a nitpick though, I will say. But yeah, this camera angle is corny.
and it should learn things from Sanders and Mamdani.
Pretentious, you know? Like you're a theater student and you're being pretentious.
There should be at least as much talk of what.
Also, we can see your like aging chin.
They should learn
you know?
from Joe Manchin or Jared Golden or Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez.
People are valid in their anger, and it is a fool's errand to try to talk somebody out of their feelings. That's not a good idea. But you also can affirm the validity of their feelings and also present a productive strategy for resolving some of the drivers of that anger or that fear.
Or Sarah McBride.
You can't foster social change if you don't have a conversation. You can't change people if you exclude them. And I will just say, you can't have absolutism on the left or the right without authoritarianism. Right? The fact that we have real disagreements, the fact that we have difficult conversations, the fact that we have painful conversations is not
Oh yeah, winning as a transgender woman is one of the craziest things that is not on my bingo list in any way. I have no idea how she managed to do it. Yeah, I just have no idea. I'm gonna be totally real, okay? I have no words, okay? Like I just do not know. Yeah, wow. Considering how unpopular trans people are, generally speaking, it's kind of crazy to me that you can actually get a transgender person to win at some point. She disavowed Lolly. Okay, never mind. I hate her.
A bug of democracy. It's a feature of democracy. And yes, that is hard and difficult. But again, how can we expect that the process of overcoming marginalization is going to be fair?
The Democratic Party should be seeking more, not less, internal disagreement. It should treat that disagreement as more welcome. It should be looking for a gut-level affinity with more of this country. Moderating on this or that issue is more straightforward than finding ways to radiate respect and interest in people who disagree with you and people you've come to feel far away from. It is the building of genuine relationships in politics, not the taking of positions, that is truly hard. But that's also the part that is beautiful. It's a privilege to do that work, not a concession. We are more able to admit complexity and extend generosity when we see others as part of our community. Working to widen that circle of empathy, to widen our circle of belonging, is both morally and politically good.
Well, the thing is that people don't actually care about policy. Just look at any kind of Republican family whose daughter got pregnant, right? Got to switch to kick to flirt with Burncat? Wait, who are you? 40 Zips. Yeah. Like, yeah, look at any Republican family whose daughter or wife gets pregnant and they can't have a child. They would never bring that child to fruition. Zip zip ball? Wait, really?
Whatever the problems are on the left, there is something truly frightening brewing on the right.
Putting aside the tribal interest for the corporate interest, that's absolutely the case. And that's the only way the country's going to stay together.
Exactly. That's my concern.
And I absolutely agree with you.
No,
I would say, though, that
I don't know.
the main challenge to that, a big challenge to that, is organized Jewry in America.
Paul Ingrassia, President Donald Trump's nominee to lead the Office of Special Counsel, not a small job, said on a text thread leaked to Politico that he had a, quote, Nazi streak. A separate text thread of young Republican leaders leaked to Politico had messages about sending enemies to the gas chambers, and one saying, quote, I love Hitler. Ingrassia had to withdraw his nomination. But Vice President J.D. Vance has dismissed coverage of the young Republicans' messages as pearl clutching.
And I really don't want us to grow up in a country where a kid telling a stupid joke, telling a very offensive stupid joke, is cause to ruin their lives.
Look, I don't want to ruin anybody's life either. But these were recent statements by adults who are vying for leadership in political organizations with official ties to the Republican Party. There is no rule of civic generosity or political practice that Trumpism has not broken. And for many I know on the left, it's created a sense that there is no sense in trying to appeal to the median voter. No sense in moderation. No sense in any of the old rules of politics. Look at how extreme the right has become. Yet they've thrived. In this telling, Trump understands what the Democrats don't. Nothing matters anymore except attention. But a few things are wrong with that.
Okay, well, that's right. Okay. Let him cook. I'm gonna let Ezra cook, okay? Ezra, it's time to cook, all right?
Trump did moderate the Republican Party in crucial areas: Medicare, Social Security, trade. And the simple truth is, Democrats can't win the way Trump and the Republicans do.
But there's a reason for that, right? Right, Ezra? Right, Ezra? There's a reason for that. There's a reason why we are unable to win in the same way that Republicans can do it, right? Because obviously, if we had someone, Gavin Newsom, someone who is actually acting like Trump, is actually getting the support of Trump-like things. Yeah, well, it's almost, yes, it's all attention, okay? It's literally all attention. No, it's not about moderate. Yeah, sure, like some of it is moderation, not for the extreme parts, but you have to ask yourself, well, that moderation shouldn't matter. And there's a reason why it shouldn't matter, is because it doesn't matter, because Trump has already said so many insane things that moderation shouldn't technically matter. That moderation shouldn't technically matter. Right? So I think Ezra is actually the one missing the point here. So I don't know.
Trump and the Republicans lead a coalition built on overwhelming strength in rural counties. America's place-based politics gives rural places disproportionate political power. Trump and the Republicans can hold power with a smaller coalition than Democrats can. And then there's this. Democrats shouldn't want to win the way Republicans do. This country could break. The abyss is dark.
What? Yeah, but it's not you're putting the onus on the Democrats. What? Dude, I hate this so much. Ezra is putting the onus on the Democrats, though, when he says something like this, right? He's basically saying it's the Democrats' fault that they're not winning and, whatever the fuck. But there's already enough blame that's going around. Sure, technically it is kind of their fault in such that they've taken such a long time to try to adjust to this era of politics. They don't know how to compensate for the technology or the social media environment. They're unable to process that part, and I understand that. But at the same time, I think we've deluded ourselves into thinking everything is the Democrats' fault. And it doesn't help that Ezra Klein is kind of contributing to this rhetoric of Democrat hate, right? Because you're not making the right critique here, right?
And it is deep, and America, like other countries, has fallen into it before and can again. I see the simple fact of a free and fair politics as much more of an achievement, something much more precious and difficult to preserve. I no longer take it or the habits of citizenship or politics that preserve it for granted. We cannot trust that providence or some innate American exceptionalism protects us from calamity. It doesn't. Over the past year, I've found myself obsessively reading histories of liberalism, looking for something, even though I didn't know exactly what. Illiberalism is winning right now. But there's nothing unusual about that. By modern standards, virtually every past society was illiberal. That we now call them illiberal, that exclusion and domination and state suppression have been made strange enough to demand a label. That is the unlikely achievement. But how did liberalism do it? For most of my life, when I called myself a liberal, I meant basically someone who believed in universal healthcare and the right to form a union and racial equality and social security. But in its oldest forms, liberalism was built on a virtue that we rarely talk about today. To the ancient Romans, being free required more than a republican constitution. It also required citizens who practiced liberalitas, which referred to a noble and generous way of thinking and acting towards one's fellow citizens. The word liberalitas became liberality. Liberality proposed, it demanded, a different way of relating across disagreement and division. It flowered into religious tolerance when that idea was truly radical. It built towards liberalism's great insight, liberalism's first idea. Conflict of interests and beliefs was, to the liberal mind, inescapable. If tamed and turned to competition in a stable political order, conflict could nevertheless bear fruit as argument, experiment, and exchange. Today, finding ways to turn our disagreements into exchange, into something fruitful rather than something destructive, seems almost fanciful. I saw a poll a few weeks ago that struck me. It asked Americans what they thought the top problem facing the country was. Number one was the economy. That was what I expected. But number two wasn't immigration or inflation or democracy or even Donald Trump. It was political division. In that same poll, 64% of the country said they think we're too divided to solve our problems anymore. They're not wrong. Right now, the project of America feels to many impossible. And not just on the left. I hear it every time J.D. Vance or Stephen Miller speaks. I hear it when Trump says,
I hate my opponent, and I don't want the best for them. I'm sorry.
When I hear that, I hear something scary. But I also hear an opening, an opportunity. I keep coming back to something Crick writes. The moral consensus of a free state is not something mysteriously prior to or above politics. It is the activity, the civilizing activity of politics itself. Something to be valued almost as a pearl beyond price. In America, for all our sins, our injustice, our oppression, a freer state emerged through the practice of politics. It did not do so painlessly, it did not do so bloodlessly, but it did happen. And for a time, it gave us confidence in ourselves and in our system. It showed what could emerge from genuine relationships between people who are genuinely other people. And I think it still could again.
Okay, I'm sorry. You just basically told me nothing, okay? You're saying, here we have this big problem, and there is, like, no fucking solution. You're saying... Ezra Klein would have instilled more hate, more hope in me if he just simply said, just simply feel hope. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think this video was a miss. I think that this video was a miss. Yeah, I love Ezra Klein though. I love this guy, okay? But I think that this video was a miss. I'm sorry. I think the entire time this video was like Ezra Klein feels like Jay Stelk. Except instead of providing cope for kiwi farms, he's like providing cope for us. I don't know. This is you're simply just saying just feel hope that things will work out in the end, right? Just simply feel hope that things will work out in the end. Well, stop. They're not. What do you mean? We can't just do that. Yeah. Great video on Ezra. I think the main problem with him is his lack of idealism for the future of America. I fucking hate the amount of socialist retards in the comments, though, circle jerking themselves on why liberalism will fail. I do think he's starting to get it in this video. I don't know. He seems
something has gone seriously wrong with
Ezra Klein. What happened to American liberals? Actually, you know what? I'm just gonna save this. I'll save it for next time. Okay. No, it isn't. No, it isn't that Ezra Klein says just be nicer. I don't think he said that. I don't think Ezra Klein said, "Oh yeah, guys, I think you guys should just be nicer." I think Ezra Klein specifically says, just simply believe in the fact that because we believe in democracy before, we can believe in democracy again. But that tells me nothing. That's like an empty platitude. You're not, that's not a logical, there's no logical way to connect that with, I might as well just give up, honestly. Like, what the fuck? This video made me cry, I'm not gonna lie. This one? This Ezra Klein? Okay, nice. Yeah, I'm sorry. No, the one I linked? Oh, okay. Okay. Me too, I'm crying right now. We're so fucked. Yeah, I think we're fucked. Genuinely good commentary on Ezra. I think it would be a good pivot shot, Foodshops. I don't know if you're ending right now. I am ending, but I'll watch it next time, okay? Because I am interested in the way that other people commentate on Ezra Klein. You love black people? I will not answer that question. Thank you. Okay. Strike 3. Stay 3. I have to go and update. I have to go and upload and edit the other videos. I would love to stay, okay? Trust me, I would love to stay, but I need to go and upload the segments from today to the second channel until I'm able to get monetization on the second channel, which is exactly why you guys should go and subscribe to my second YouTube right now. Subscribe to my second YouTube and yeah. Encourage other people to subscribe as well, okay? Just so then we can get it to monetization. Because once we get to monetization, I can onboard my Slop editor immediately. And then I'm able to stream for longer periods of time.